Welcome to episode 3 of 100 Lives Later, where we're going to be talking about the video game Braid. I'm Bryant, otherwise known as Laser BDM.
Yeah, my name's Dustin. Otherwise, gamer tag is Demo Elite, DMOELITE. Add me. I need friends. Don't add Bryant.
Don't add me. I was thinking, like, if this became like a super popular thing, I would have to change all of my handles.
What, be Laser BDM?
To not be it, because I don't want. I don't know. People are weird, man. So we're talking about Braid, kind of a small puzzler game. Let's talk about what we played it on. This is.
Do you want to Do you want to talk about what we played it on, or would you like to talk about what happened when it came out?
Let's talk about what happened when it came out.
Okay.
I swear I've done this before. So 2008 was when this game was originally released on the Xbox Live Arcade, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but talking about life during that time period, we had games like Fallout 3. Did you ever play any Fallout game?
Yeah, Fallout 3 is actually the only one that I've beaten. I've played other ones, but Fallout 3 is actually the only one I've actually beaten. That was one of my first RPGs I ever played to completion.
It's so good, and it's got to be on this list, right?
Fallout 3? I don't think it is.
Wow, that's surprising.
Not the top of my head. What else came out? What other games?
We've got Super Smash Brothers Brawl, which was the Wii version. Wii Super Smash Brothers.
Very good.
We've got Little Big Planet.
Oh my goodness. I never had a PlayStation during those times, but I remember you did, and just the constant singing of Little Big Planet over and over again. Oh no, they should add it if they remaster it. Little Big Planet.
Right, I'm sure
it's Big Planet.
Little Big Planet. Mirror's Edge.
Oh, that's kind of a. It was kind of like a. I don't know. I'm sure there were games similar to it, but when that came out, it was doing a just purely parkour based game. Was pretty new and fresh.
Yeah, and the movement just felt so good in that. I should go back and play that again because I really loved Mirror's Edge. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Wow.
That was the first Metal Gear Solid game that I played. I was in college, and I remember I didn't really understand the story very well, but it was just a really fun game to play. And we got 2 more I'll go through. We got Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto is just such a fun series for me.
I never actually played Grand Theft Auto 4. I know who the main protagonist is, but I never actually played it. I know it's on this list, so we'll have that to look forward to. It's actually but it's very high in the list. Like, if we ever play this game, it's going to be like 3 years down the road because it's literally number 3 on the list.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Not to spoil that episode if you're listening to this years from now when I'm a grandpa. And by grandpa, I mean I have any kids at all. Anyway, and the last one we'll talk about, and of course there were many games that came out during 2008, but Left 4 Dead.
Okay. Yep. One of my favorite games of all time is Left 4 Dead.
I was going to say, you got really into that, didn't you?
Oh, so many hours logged. I still remember when it came out. I was a freshman in college, and obviously you were a freshman too because we're the same age. But I remember just sitting in my living room and the house I shared, just sitting there logging hours upon hours of Left 4 Dead. I just love that game so much.
Valve, I mean, you can't go wrong, right? And here's a couple movies that came out. We have The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Iron Man.
To be the best Batman movie of all time by some.
Probably. That's definitely in the top 3. Iron Man. Back when Marvel was just starting out.
Which Iron Man?
It was Iron Man 1.
Really? 2008?
Yeah, now I have to double check it.
Yeah, I thought Iron Man was before then.
No, 2008.
Wow, that's
when
crazy.
it all began. Back when superhero movies were just, I mean, it was just Batman at the time and Spider-Man, X-Men, I guess. But for Marvel stuff, it was just Iron Man. And nobody knew who Iron Man was in general. The public, the general audience, I would say, probably didn't know as much about Iron Man, especially now as they do now.
Probably still I'd say it's in my top 3 to 5 of all the Marvel movies. That's such a good movie.
It is. It's great. Wall-E, always talking about Pixar. I love Pixar. Wall-E's a banger. And then we have Twilight. So everyone knows where they were when they saw Twilight.
How dare you imprint on my daughter? Oh, sorry.
I just saw a TikTok on that today.
See, it was fitting. One of the greatest movies of all time.
Right.
Also in 2008, outside of movies, we do have some awesome shows that came out that year. Breaking Bad, arguably one of the best shows of all time.
It definitely like revolutionized television in a big way.
Yep. Sons of Anarchy was a big show. I don't know. Did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy? Motorcycle gangs?
Yeah, I didn't. It just kind of wasn't my vibe.
Oh, fair enough. And then also a big one that came out, which I'm sure we all watched, was America's Best Dance Crew reality show. We all tuned in every week to watch America's Best Dance Crew.
I can't lie, I did. I've been known to watch a little trashy reality. I guess it wasn't trashy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but outside that, there weren't too many big shows out besides, like I said, like Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy are the ones that stuck out to me when we were kind of researching for this podcast. Yeah,
it really wasn't the time when, I mean, when we're recording this is 2025, and there's too much good television to watch, and that's not a complaint. It's just there are so many options for amazing television shows, and there just weren't back then, at least not like there are today.
Yeah, very true. Speaking of 2008, you remember I was a freshman in college. Where were you in 2008?
I was a freshman in university, yes.
I know. It was our first year of not living in the same state, though, because I went out of state for college, so
yeah,
we never saw each other. Now we see each other all the time because we live in the same state, the same city.
Yeah, if you're, yeah.
If you can teleport.
I saw TikTok today that was like, send this to someone. It was something along the lines of like, why you live so far away? And I was going to send it to you. But then I was like, TikTok might not exist in a couple days, so.
Well, that could have been the last one you ever sent. It would have been a good one to remember by until we all download the Asian TikTok, Red One, which my wife told me she downloaded. And I was like, really? I was like, you don't need TikTok that bad to download this Chinese app that I've never even heard of before, but it's okay.
Yeah, who knows what'll happen with that. So, well, let's talk about, that's kind of a feeling for 2008, the things that you could do to entertain yourself. But one of the, in my opinion, best things you could do to entertain yourself is to play a puzzle game by the name of Braid.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about what you played Braid on in 2025.
All right, so I think we both played on different platforms again, which has kind of become a common theme, which is cool. We kind of get a different perspective. I actually played Braid on my PS5 through the Anniversary Edition, which conveniently came out this last summer, May of 2024. They came with the Anniversary Edition where they remastered it just to make images sharper, things of that sort. And it's one of those cool anniversary or remakes that at any time I can click the right stick in and it will change the view to what it looked like back in 2008, which was pretty cool to kind of see the differences, which, to be honest, this game doesn't have dramatic differences. The game was beautiful back in 2008 and it's still beautiful to this day.
Yeah, I would say it just bumps almost just the resolution of the textures up. And I don't know if they repainted all of them, but a good amount, but it definitely has the same feel. It's not an extreme difference. I played on my ROG Ally, most of it. I played a little on my PC.
So for not super gamers, what is an ROG Ally?
ROG Ally is like a Steam Deck. It's a handheld PC.
Okay.
And it's, I don't want to get into it. I think it's better than the Steam Deck in many respects. It runs Windows, so you can play all the games that you could on your PC. So
was it the standard version of Braid, or was it Anniversary like mine?
I did the standard version. I originally bought the Anniversary, and I was like, oh, I want to play in the original form. And so I bought the original version. I mean, the game's just a couple bucks anyways. But I didn't know that you could switch back and forth the graphics like you could. So
yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
like regardless, it's the same experience. It's just, especially on a handheld, you could not. Today I played around with the Anniversary Edition a little on my PC, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty big difference. But on a handheld, you couldn't tell that much. That the original graphics were not that high resolution.
Yeah. We'll probably post a TikTok or a YouTube short showing the difference, because I did record a little bit of gameplay of it, so you can kind of see the difference and gauge for yourself what you think of the upgrade. I mean, it was nice. I welcomed it, but I didn't think I wouldn't have needed it. It isn't like playing God of War and be like, wow, these graphics are a little rough. I would have been fine playing the 2008 version.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this could have came out this year as a small indie game or like an iPhone game, and you wouldn't bat an eye at it. So this came out for the Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah, it was actually one of the biggest Xbox Live Arcade releases it first came out on Xbox in 2008, and then later released on computer and PlayStation the following year at different times. But yeah, it was a Xbox arcade game. Started off at $15, which is, I think that's what I paid for it in 2025 to play it. So shows you the value it may hold.
Was it worth $15?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was definitely worth the price, and I would have paid $15 back in 2008 to play it, which I just wasn't in that realm of gaming back in 2008 where I was wanting to play like a puzzler, that is what this game is. I don't know, a little background on what the game is. I know Bryant's mentioned it. It is a puzzle platformer game. It was created actually by one individual designer and developed the game by the name of Jonathan Blow. Big release for him, really successful game for him. It was really critically well acclaimed, won a lot of awards, and it was just across the board review wise. It's a 9, 10 at every different outlet, depending on where you look at it. It was highly well reviewed and very, very popular. I think, speaking of awards, it won like Casual Game of the Year, which I'd argue that it's not super casual. The music is casual, but it's challenging in its own right. It won Xbox Live Game of the Year, all different awards like that. I believe they cleared like 5 different awards. It's on the year released.
Yeah, it kind of, what I was reading and researching, and it makes sense. It really set the way, kind of opened the doors for these smaller indie games where something that someone could develop and get a good income, a good amount of money. If it's a good game, if it's an innovative game. Before, it used to be you had to have a big studio. But this, with the advent of the internet and being able to download a game onto your Xbox, which was a new thing, it opened up this platform for people. And you wouldn't know it now because it's such a huge industry, these smaller type of games. But this was kind of one of the first ones that said, hey, this is a thing that you can do, and people will embrace it. And it doesn't have to be a 40-hour game for it to be good, which this is not. This is a short little bite of a game.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to look up this game, just I know it's world record speed runs, but if you look up how long it take to beat this game on a speed run, world record I think is like 23 minutes right now. Like it's not a big game. There's a built-in mechanic in the game for speed running that they want you to do for a challenge, and it's 45 minutes to beat the game on a speed running pace. I know personally for me, probably took me more closer to 5 hours or so. Brian, how about you? How long did it take you to beat it?
Steam says it took me 7 hours to beat. However, don't make that face. I did not look anything up. So there were a few that really stumped me, and I really, kind of stuck on it, and I was like, I'm not moving until I move on. But you were talking a little bit. It's a puzzle platformer. There's 4. You can go on. You talk about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's a puzzle platformer, and the story's based around a character named Tim, who is quite dapper. If you may ask me, if you look at his character model, he's got like a dress shirt and tie on as he's running through these wooded,
what every guy wants to look like,
mythical areas. Yeah, with his hair flowing in the wind. And his mission is to platform and solve puzzles to get through and save a princess who was captured by a monster. That's the premise of the game. Now, within the game itself, like I said, is a puzzle platformer. The puzzles every single one is based around the core mechanic of the game, which if you look at the cover of the game, it's an hourglass. It is all based on time travel. So being able to manipulate time to be able to successfully complete these puzzles as you go through.
Yeah, and there's like 5 chapters or so, like 6.
Yeah, and which is strange. That's my first gripe with the game, though. I would like to say, I know we'll have a special session for our little issues, but this is it is made up of 6 worlds, technically. There's a 7th world that's just a commentary world where the developer talks about his game, but there are 6 core worlds, but the first world is not really a world. Like, you spawn in, and that's world 1, and there's no puzzles to do. The only puzzles are actually in world 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the final world, which is 6. It was kind of weird.
Yes, I agree. It's a weird way, because when you start out, it's like world 2, and then I was confused at that. I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
So I actually have a funny story. My brother, who's a gamer just like us, he went to boot up Braid just to see what it was like. And he booted it up, and he sat on the main menu for 10 minutes without realizing that there is no main menu, and that's how you just start the game, and you just start running and get into the game. So I think that's really, truly the first puzzle, is figuring out that you're actually in the game.
You're in the game. Well, for some people, it sounds like a puzzle. But also each chapter introduces a new mechanic. So each chapter kind of has a different theme, which is great because it keeps it... Honestly, I'll just go out and say I love this game. I love puzzle games. This was the right amount of challenging, yet doable. And you could have just kept the first chapter mechanics for the whole game, and I would have been happy. But the fact that each chapter introduces something new kept it fresh and really gauged my interest.
Yeah, and let's talk about the different chapters. So, and then I'll ask you which one is your favorite. So like I said, there are technically 6 worlds in the game, but each world of the core. So how it works is there's 5 worlds to go into. Once you collect all the pieces in each world, in order to get to the final level, you have to get every single piece. So you can't leave some behind and come back later. It's not like a Mario Star situation. So you need to collect all the puzzles, but each world out of the 5 has their own little special mechanic that they add as a little wrench, or just a different type of way to approach the time travel in the game. So it's really cool, and it helps keep the game fresh. So in World 2, technically, which is the first world you enter to get puzzles, the mechanic is just simply learning how to use the rewind. That's all you're doing, is learning how to go back in time to help yourself get puzzle pieces. World 3, which is the second world, that one is centered around a green glow that pops around objects. There's a green glow, and that means if you're reversing time, that object no longer moves. It does not get affected by time. It will stay in its current state. So say you flip a switch that was highlighted green. When you go back in time to before you flip the switch, it will stay flipped. So if there's a platform you're traveling across, it makes the platform move when you hit the switch. Now when you go back in time, you can hop on the platform and it'll be moving because the switch stayed green and it's moving. So that's the next world. In World 4, which is World 3, it links. This was my favorite one. Well, actually, no, not this one, but we'll get into that later. But it links your character to a certain location on a horizontal axis. So you're on a different axis when you move. So when you go back in time, the different characters move on a horizontal axis in the opposite direction of the way they originally came. So it adds a little caveat of trying to time out where all the enemies are going to be or where the platform's going to be based on you going back in time. The next world is my favorite world, is the shadow world. So there is a shadow that when you go back in time, it will have a shadow come out that will pretty much mimic what you did before you went back in time. So say there was a switch on the other side of the level. I keep saying switches because it's the easiest way to explain it. Say there's a switch, you'll run over, grab the switch and turn it on. If you rewind time, it will take you back to where you started. And then that shadow will start running and it will go and hit the switch. So if there's a platform to jump onto and move, you jump up onto the platform. As your shadow gets to the switch and hits it, it will then allow the platform to move. It's a really interesting puzzle and a lot of different aspects to take it. And then the last world, it was focused around a magic ring that once you place it, it creates like a bubble, and that allows time to then slow down really, really slow. So you need to wait for a platform to come down, but hit a switch at the same time, and the timing's off. Then you put the big magic ring down, and it will slow the time down on one aspect, so you're able to get to the other portion and get through the level and grab the puzzles. But those are the key worlds. At the end of it, the final world, it's really focused on the world, technically the sixth world. It's really focused on just kind of combining a little bit of all aspects while you're progressively trying to get through a level that's chasing you down. But we'll talk more about that later on. So as I went through that was a long spiel of all the different worlds. Bryant, which was your favorite?
Definitely the shadow one, where you got to do an action, and then when you hit reverse, it created that. I am so bad at explaining, but you explained it. You talked about it. I thought it added a whole new element that kind of like you had to unlock a different part of your brain to solve the puzzles, and those were a couple of the ones that I got stuck on, and I'm like, because it could get really chaotic and confusing after a while. Yeah. Especially because you had some of the solutions. I don't want to spoil any, but some of the solutions were your shadow character could die, but as long as you're the current version of you survived, then it was all good. So,
yep,
such a creative game, and I loved it. To me, it was relaxing. It was the perfect handheld game while you're watching a TV show or doing something like that. But also you could, if you wanted to play just this and focus just on that, I mean, that's fine as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a relaxing game. It has cool music while it's playing, real mellow music while you're playing. But then at the same time, it has little, like before every world, before you go into it, there's a pedestal with the book that has some sort of deep meaning message, which I will tell you this, and we'll get into it later, but this developer was a bit of a philosopher by the words he used and the quotes he put in his game, put a lot of heart and soul into his game, which you can really see in the way the game was developed, the way it looks, how complex the levels can be, the puzzles can be. I think it was a really well put together game for one individual. I mean, it's...
Oh, yeah. Remarkable. Really, like, I don't have anywhere near the capacity to do that. Something I really liked, I guess we could just talk about some things that the gameplay that you really liked. I really enjoyed that when you first start out, you think, well, I can't get that puzzle piece. And that's what you're doing on each level, is trying to get all the puzzle pieces.
Oh my gosh. I tell you what, I left puzzle pieces behind because I was like, oh, it just must be one that's really ability. Hard to... Yeah, exactly. I thought I just can't get that right now. Like, I'm thinking of Metroidvanias where in Metroid Prime, I can't get an item right now because I don't have that skill unlocked. So I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll just leave it behind. I'll come back later. I'll get it. And it's not the case.
It's not the case. You have all the power minus like 1, I think. You can get that puzzle piece. It is up to you to figure it out. And I really like that because there are some that you see and you're like, that's impossible. And but once you figure out that it's not, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there's always going to be spoilers in these because we're talking about full games. So just be aware when we say stuff. I mean, you just may have to play for yourself to kind of understand it, and hopefully it doesn't ruin too much for you because it's just a puzzler. But there was only one where you had to go back because you got an ability, and it wasn't an ability. So actually, it was in the first world, I'm pretty sure, or the second world.
Yeah, it was the first.
Yeah, so every world, there's a picture at the end of it where you create this picture by getting all the puzzle pieces. You actually do a puzzle to put it together. You solve the puzzle once you have all the pieces. Well, in the first world, the picture, once you get to it, there's usually the picture level where you can actually see the picture and put the puzzles in, and then there's one level afterwards. Well, there's a piece you're missing in the puzzle that allows you to manipulate the puzzle to then allow a creature to one of the little creatures to walk on the platform and then lower it down a level so you can jump up and get another puzzle piece. So you need to actually finish the last level and come back and put pieces of the puzzle together to then allow this platform to exist. I think that's literally the only time you actually would have to go back.
Yeah, that's, to my knowledge, that's the only one off the top of my head. But even that was a creative solution.
Yeah. And isn't it crazy? I read that this developer by himself, it took him 3 years to create this game, but the puzzles are so elaborate and complex. It's just wild that one person can think of all these, and then to develop and produce it into a 5 to 7 hour campaign, included with all the story elements that he adds, is just wild. Very impressive. I mean, I'd be curious to see what this developer went on to create, if he did. I think right now he's like a consultant or something for some company.
So he made a game called The Witness. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I did. It was like was it on PlayStation?
I don't remember what it's for, and please forgive me, I have not. It's it's another critically acclaimed game that came out in 2016. It's on PC, but it's another puzzle game, and it's one that I have wanted to play, but I never got around to it. And supposedly I've heard that it's like better than Braid. I've heard from some people, or some read online.
Is it on our list?
I don't know if it is or not, but I'm gonna play it no matter what. Period. Because I'm a huge fan of this guy now. Because the whole package, that's another thing that was impressive, is it's not just level after level after level, and then you're done. You have the overworld, which is his house. You have the story, which is I guess we can get into the story next, but you have the puzzles, the puzzle pieces, and then putting the puzzle, just the whole thing. He created something more as a piece of art, and that's what it is. So let's talk about the story. What did you think?
So I just honestly, to me, I thought the story was very reminiscent of at its core, was very reminiscent of like a Legend of Zelda game, where it's a hero trying to go save a princess from an evil monster or being, taking the princess and trying to do whatever with them, and you're trying to stop it and save them. That's what I thought the story was. Now, I understand people think it's a lot different than that. How about you? What'd you think of the story?
Yeah, when at first, I wouldn't say I was disappointed in the story. Once I got the idea that it's not a straightforward linear story. It is more poetic, in the sense that it's up to interpretation, which I like and I appreciate. It's more about, what are these words? What do they make you feel? It's fragmented, in that it's not necessarily just a linear story, which also kind of interestingly goes with the time travel aspect.
What in the story, I think it has like a beautiful little story arc, the way he tries to explain stuff, but why is there a dinosaur at the end of every level? Where did that come from? Like, what's he doing there? Like, literally, so when you finish the level, you're ultimately looking in each world to try to find the princess. When you get to the very end, like, there's a castle, like a mini castle, and then a little dinosaur will walk out and say, "Nope, she's not here. Oh, good try. Try the next world." But it's a little dinosaur. I didn't get why he was there. Like, there's no dinosaur enemies. Like, it's the only dinosaur in the game.
So, the original quote was, the princess is in another castle, which is from the original Super Mario Brothers. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, so in the original Super Mario Brothers for the NES, when you would beat a world and you would beat a Bowser or a Koopa at a castle, Toad would come out and say, "Oh, the princess isn't here. She's in another castle."
Oh, okay.
It would do that all the way. Now, Toad isn't a dinosaur. I don't know why it's a dinosaur.
Well, maybe they're like, what's the furthest thing away from a talking mushroom? Let's go with a talking, sad-looking T-Rex. Let's go with that.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was just kind of a cute little fun
I
thing.
want justice for the dinosaur. There's no ending for the dinosaur.
That was kind of a funny thing when the dinosaur just at one point, I was just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So did you hear the theory about this being like Oppenheimer?
Yeah, so there's multiple theories. If you can spend hours on YouTube watching people's theories of what this story is really based on, but based off of the depictions in the game, a lot of the quotes he references, because like I mentioned earlier, there's big books that they have that give like a big quote from something or tell a story within a story as you progress through the game. And the way that I depict it, and you can speak more on this too, Bryant, but is that people believe that it is based on Robert Oppenheimer, the creator of the atomic bomb, how he regrets what he's doing, and him chasing the princess is him trying to take back what he did and created this destruction. And that's why there's the time manipulation where he's traveling back in time to try to go back and change everything, but ultimately he can't escape the consequences of what he did, and the atomic bomb happens. And so there's people believe that's really the underlying story of Braid, is this atomic bomb, Robert Oppenheimer. How about you, Brett? What did you hear about it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I don't know that there is an answer yet one way or the other, but it also, regardless, it's a guy looking back at his life with regret at the things that he's done. And for them to kind of get, you kind of feel that throughout the game. And when you're reading these texts, and regardless for if it is about the atomic bomb or not, for a game to make you feel that, even just as a little puzzler, is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you are someone who has to have answers in a story, you might not like that. I don't, and I'm someone who can enjoy it just for what it is and the fact that it makes me think.
Yeah, so at the end of the game, speaking story related, I was a little confused because at the end of the game, you're running from a wall of fire as you're trying to get to the princess who's on top of a platform, and you're underneath, and you're kind of running simultaneously, doing obstacles and trying to avoid getting caught by this fire. You get to the end, and then you kind of reverse time and run back through to be able to get up to her. But I was a little confused by... So there's an evil knight that comes down with her originally before you start this whole sequence on the final level. And then once you reverse back and come back after going through the whole obstacle course pretty much, the knight comes down and grabs her again and takes her away. But then it seems as if like the knight's saving her. And so are you the knight in that situation? I was a little confused by that.
Yeah, so I read about that because I didn't look into it. I was a little confused as well, just because I'm not a smart man. I think the interpretation is you think you're saving her, you're chasing after her, and then when you get to her house, it reverses and it turns out you're chasing her, right? Because you're going through the level again and you're behind her, chasing her. And this knight is actually not an evil knight. He saves her from you, and you were the monster the whole time.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even realize that. That's how, like I said, the story can just be interpreted in millions of ways. And unfortunately, there's no closure, because I watched a video of the developer, which is pretty much is very vague. Like, hey, I understand all your theories, and the game's about regret, making choices, and overcoming challenges, but he didn't really address like which theory's right or what he truly meant by everything. He leaves it open to interpretation.
See, I enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that there is no answer, and that it's like poetry. It's up to interpretation. You read it, whatever it makes you feel. That's what the best art is. Something that makes you think. It doesn't have an answer. It's not trying to preach at you. It's just kind of spurring those thoughts in your head.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so.
Cool. So, the sound in it was great.
Yeah, sound was good. Like I said, little pretty chill music.
It was cool how the sound was actually kind of important, because it would go in reverse whenever you went in reverse. And I know that sounds really stupid, but it could have been something they overlooked, but it really kind of emphasized the fact that you were traveling in time.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think about the difficulty of the game?
For me, it was the perfect level of difficulty. Okay. It was not too hard, but there were ones that it stumped me, but I felt like it was my fault, and it wasn't the game being cheap. Like, the game was not cheap at all. It was fair. And I, like I said earlier, I think the fact that you didn't have to unlock abilities, like you had all the tools at the beginning. I was like, okay, that's fair. Anything I struggle with is going to be on me.
Yep. Okay, look me in the eye right now. Did you really not look up anything? Like, I find it so hard to believe that you didn't look up the doing the puzzle to create the platform. That one is really tricky to figure out to do that. And then there were a couple other ones where, like, it was like just the perfect time. Like, okay, that the level with the bubble, and there's a switch all the way to the right. You hit the switch, then you go up to the top. There's another switch, and then you need to get a ladder to drop down at the same time and stop the bubble to slow it down and climb the ladder and get over to get the puzzle piece. If the fact that you're able to figure that out by yourself is mind blowing. I had to look up stuff throughout the game. Not that often. Like, when I finished the game, I had about 2 pieces left in each world. A few of those were my own, where I thought I could come back later with a new ability. But yeah, I had about two pieces left in each world that I had to go back, and then of those pieces, probably look up at least one in each world, because they just were so smart puzzles.
I promise I did not look up any of them. I was very close a couple times, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to set a timer. And I think I told myself, if I spend more than an hour on a single puzzle, then I'm at the point where I'm wasting my time. And then I don't think I spent an hour on any, but I know I didn't. But I didn't, and I was proud of myself. And maybe that's why I like this game so much.
I'm curious if, like, because, you know, in every puzzle game, there's a wrong way to do a puzzle, but it still worked and got you your end solution. Yeah. I wonder how many times, like, you just... not dumb luck, like, but dumb luck your way into like you just happened to get lucky where you hit a mechanic in the game that you weren't supposed to do and got a puzzle piece.
Right, like I machine learned my way to the solution just by closing my eyes and going left. No, there were a couple that there was one. How do you explain these puzzles? It's kind of hard. I don't even know how to explain it. It was a ring.
Paint me a word picture. I can probably remember it.
Okay. So you start, and there's a puzzle piece. You start in the middle. It's a puzzle piece way to the left. There's one.
Is it up on a platform, like above the door?
Yeah, there's like a chunk of platforms in the middle, and you have to get one like way up right, and you have to. It's a ring one, and this is one where you have to use it to slow the cannon down from shooting those little minions.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That one was tough. It was like, oh, I finally got to the puzzle piece, but now I got to get out of this little hallway.
Yeah. How did you... Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, because that was hard because you got into you have to get the puzzle and there's switch in like there, and then you have to you had to time it to where it slowed it down to where only three would go, and then you'd have enough time to run out just enough to jump up and avoid it. Yeah, exactly. That one was really tough. How did you figure out there's a world? Okay, so there's left side, right side. On the left side, you do climb a bunch of ladders to get this puzzle piece. You slow the time down, you go and you grab it on a platform. Then in the middle of the map, as you're going to the second part of the map, you climb a ladder. Next to the ladder is another piece right in the middle of the map, but it's behind a wall. There's a wall. And if you rewind time, you see this wall comes down as you progress through the level. And so you need to somehow slow that wall down. Well, anything on the left does not slow it down. But if you go on the right side, there's like this elaborate jump puzzle you do where stuff's shooting at you. You're climbing on a rope, and then you get to the end, and then you get inside of it, and you hit a switch, and then this green platform comes to the ground. So you're supposed to then go back to the green platform and then rewind time, because when you're on green, just like on World 2, everything the platform doesn't move with the time, but the time will still rewind. So you have to rewind it all the way back to the very beginning before you did anything, and then grab that, and then at that point go and get there before that door closes. So realistically, anything on the left side of the map you don't want to do until you get that second puzzle piece, because it reverses the time all the way back to where you have to go back and get the first piece again. So I gotta imagine that's got to be one that took you close to the hour to figure out how to do, because it's just more elaborate. It's wild.
Yeah, I kind of lucked into that one because I remember that platform came up, and it's not obvious that it does anything to you. And I jumped on it, and I saw the stuff around me, and I'm like, okay, this has to be the key to the whole thing. And I just honestly lucked out, and and just kept hitting reverse until it worked. And then also on World, let's just call it World 1, whatever, the one where you had to use the painting as the solution.
Yeah, the one with the
puzzle. As the solution.
Where you had to make the platform to bring him down. That's what I was saying. I mentioned
complete luck.
I can't believe you figured that. Like I couldn't figure. It was driving me crazy. And when I'm playing puzzle games, I enjoy puzzle games. But if I can't figure out what to do, like I actually start to feel sick. Like I get kind of nauseous, and I'm like, I gotta quit playing for a while. And that was one where I was like, I gotta look it up because I'm not gonna be able to I can't figure it out.
Yeah. I love that feeling. I love the feeling of not knowing the answer, but knowing it's right there. I'm probably rare for that.
Yeah, I like it at different points, but that game, that was just a tough one. So I think I beat the game before you, and I may have warned you, but nothing was more demoralizing than whenever I finished all the worlds thinking, and I left a couple puzzle pieces behind, and then you have to climb a ladder to the very top to get to the final level. I'm like, yeah, I get to go save the princess. And you climb that ladder, and the ladder isn't fully formed. You have to get every puzzle piece and complete all the puzzles in order for the ladder to fully form. So you're like 3/4 of the way up there, and you see the door, but you can't get to it because you didn't finish every single puzzle. And this is a weird situation where it's a game where it requires you to get every single puzzle piece. I mean, I wondered, I gave you a warning about that, I guess, so maybe saved you some frustration, because I know how frustrated you were in Super Mario 3D World, where you had to get 170 pieces or whatever stars to get to the final world. I didn't want you to have that feeling again, so I gave you a little heads up, but that hurt my soul whenever I got to there. I thought I was going to get to the end and do the final level, and I was stuck.
No, I'm glad you did, because I would like to think that I enjoyed this game so much that I would want to, quote unquote, 100% it. But I probably would have been like, well, I'll just move on. I'll just skip this hard one. And then I would have got there and been like, oh. But I was enjoying it so much that I would like to think that I would want to get each puzzle piece.
Have you went back and played it since?
I did a little bit today. I played the anniversary edition just to check out what the differences were.
Yeah, from a 100% standpoint, it is one of the easier games to get all the achievements of overall if you put time in, because anytime you finish a world, you get an achievement. So on PlayStation, in regards to trophies, I only have 2 trophies left. I could almost platinum this game. The issue is one of the last trophies is to hit the speed run time, and of 45 minutes to beat the game. And it would just take a lot of practice of each world to remember how each puzzle works and to get all your timings done right to get that trophy. So it just wasn't worth it to me. I'm not a speed runner. I like speed runners. I wish I could be a speed runner, but I just don't have that in me to fully try to 100% the game. So I'm missing that trophy, and I'm missing the trophy for fully beating the commentary world.
Oh, yeah. The juice is not worth the squeeze to learn how to speedrun it.
Yeah, I tried to do one run with it. I did the first 2 worlds. It took me 24 minutes. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do the last 3 worlds or last 4 worlds in 21 minutes. And I'm like, I'm going to have to literally just do each world 3 or 4 times to learn exactly where everything is and how to do every puzzle, and then come back and do a couple runs to get it. It just wasn't worth the squeeze, as you're saying.
Yeah. I guess that would be my only quote unquote nitpick about the game, would be that it's kind of short. And I really liked it so much. I was like, God, I just want more. I saw you can download some mods and people have created new levels. So honestly, I might just kind of as a game to have on in the background to play, I might check out.
Well, if you want more of that experience, obviously you talked about the other game he made, but in Super Meat Boy, apparently there's an unlockable character where you can play as Tim from Braid. So you can be Tim in Super Meat Boy, which is a big puzzler, challenging puzzler. So you can always play that.
Super Meat Boy. Have you played Super Meat Boy?
I've seen gameplay. I've never actually played it myself.
It's good. It's definitely more of a intense challenge because it's, I don't even know what she'd say. Like the platforming is very difficult. Yeah. Platforming in this is easy.
Yeah, it's like opposite where like I think from what I've seen in Super Meat Boy, it's like the platform is just really, really difficult. The puzzles itself aren't challenging. It's the actual timing all the jumps and everything that is difficult.
Yeah, you usually see a new level and you're like, oh, I know what I need to do. It's just I got to get this accurate sweaty gamer jump. So
yeah. So you had your only nitpick was it was short.
Yeah, and that's a weird nitpick to even have. It's really a compliment because I wish I just wanted more of it.
Yeah, fair enough. My nitpick was the requirement of getting every single puzzle to be able to beat the game. I liked having the choice of beating the game and then going back through and adding more playtime through it by going back and getting those other puzzle pieces that I missed and figured it out. I didn't get why that bathroom existed in the world. That drove me crazy. So when you're in the world 1 and you see all the different worlds, they're all picture frames, and you go into a door to start the worlds. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like one on the side. And then on the very bottom right corner, there's a little bathroom that has nothing. At least I could find. I thought it'd be a hidden secret or anything, but it's just a bathroom that the light turns on when you walk in, and that's it. And it just, I probably spent like 10 minutes just seeing if there was a secret to trying to do something in that bathroom, and it just is purely nothing. And that drove me crazy.
Did you try saying Bloody Mary in the mirror?
I should have tried. Well, the light turns on. You're supposed to stay with the lights off.
Well, that's good. That saved you. Any other nitpicks?
No. I mean, I thought the movement felt good. I felt the platform was easy. In this game, you needed to have good movement because there were a lot of challenges where you had to jump on the head of a little creature and get to the platform. I would have liked to seen more variation in enemies because I think there is one creature the whole game. Besides, there's like one creature the whole game that you used to bounce off of, and that's it. And then they said some of the levels were just a little nitpicky on how detailed the puzzle. So there's one. I explained this world. I think it's world 3, where everything when you reverse time it goes back across the horizontal axis that it was before. There's one where there's multiple platforms up to the top, and then there's a bunch of different enemies that you just have to pop on their head, just like Mario, and it kills them and it adds to a tally bar at the top. And if you get all of them, the door opens. Well, previously, and I think World 1, you did that, and it worked out just fine. But when you reverse the time along the horizontal axis, it brings the characters back alive if you don't do it in the right order. So you had to know the right order of killing all the people to be able to then get the door open. And it was just really frustrating getting the timing right for that. Because then also, too, at the same time, you had a time, like, there's a couple, to get to the next platform, you have to jump off of a guy who you have to also kill right before. And when you reverse time jump, like, it was a little tricky. And it was almost too smart of a puzzle. A little too smart.
Yeah, I don't even remember, like, the trick to winning that one. It
could have been just luck too, of just keep trying different orders until you got the right order of getting the door open.
Yeah. That was fun though. It feels good to get those right. So ready to do some rating?
Yeah, let's do some rating. Let's did I go first last week, or I don't know. Let's do I'll go first, and let's do a 2008 rating and 2025 rating. Now it's 2025. Pretty awesome. I will say, for me, there's not going to be a differential. For me, I think this game is an 8.5 in both eras, because there's not a difference in graphical elements, the mechanics. I think it's the same game between both years. I don't see there being a difference in my mind. So I give it an 8.5 because of the requirement of doing every single puzzle, some of the complexity of some of the puzzles, and then the length of the game. It took off some points for me, but I would put it at 8.5 for my personal game experience. How about you?
Yeah. For the time, I did have a difference. For the time, the 2008 review, I gave it a 9.
Okay.
For today, I gave it an 8.
Okay, what made it drop?
I would just say for it to be a 9, the story would have had to resonate with me a little more. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Thought it was great. But it didn't leave me like a huge emotional impact. Like I wasn't in tears. That would have been like a 9 or a 10. During the time, since there was nothing like it, I would give it a 9. But today, it's an 8. Like, for instance, right now I'm playing The Last of Us Part 2. That's like wrecking my emotion.
We're about to play it, but yeah.
I know. I will play it again.
I beat it 2 months ago, so I'm not much. I recently beat it because I'd never beaten it, and I sat down and beat it, and yeah.
Yeah. It's so, from comparing it to that story-wise, which is probably extremely unfair, it's an 8. An 8's still really good. It's a great puzzle game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So what's next?
Well, before we do that, so I said I'm trying to collect every game that we play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
you cut your wife's hair off, and you like
that's the braid. Yeah. So it was an Xbox Live Arcade game, but thankfully it did come out on PC a year later, and I was able to, which I couldn't find this in store, but I was able to get a copy off
I didn't know they did that.
eBay. Yeah, they had a physical disc release of Braid. This is actually sealed, so I can't open it for you. But yeah, just it's kind of unique. Just it's called Premium Casual Games at the top. I don't know if you can see that, but with GameStop's rating of giving it a 9.5 out of 10, and then it shows the picture art in the back. This is like back in the days when you would go to a video game store and see art on the back, and it would like you wouldn't know anything about the game, and you just try it because you like the way it looks and the way they describe it. Nowadays, you don't even get like paperwork inside the disc when you buy a game. So
that was my Friday night. We would go to Blockbuster, and you would look like the art on the cover that's what would draw you in.
So you see this picture, actually, the cover is the story I told earlier, my brother being stuck on the main menu. I don't know if you can see it because there's a little bit of a glare, but this is where you load in. This is literally where the game starts, and you would think this is the main menu, waiting for a menu option to pop up to go, but no, literally you move to the right to start, and you go through and you start the game. And that's where my brother sat for 10 minutes waiting for the game to show him a message to start playing the game.
And talking about the whole Oppenheimer thing, why is the beginning of the game a city
in ruin,
on fire?
Yeah. I mean, look at it. on fire, and that's how the game starts. And like, yeah, you're outside and you can see structures down behind you, and then you step into like this big old house, which is kind of where all the pictures are that in the puzzles that you do. So that's a good point.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
it is the first game made based off of Oppenheimer in his life, creating the atomic bomb.
There you go.
Is Cillian Murphy Tim?
I mean, they are just two dudes, so that's about the only. Cillian Murphy's so skinny, it would be like Jack Skellington running through there. Okay, that's what's next on the old list?
All right, perfect. So as we said, we're playing through the top 100 games on Metacritic's list. Now, this is a moving list as games come out and are well reviewed. The example I always give is Metaphor Phantasmia, whatever it's called, came out this year. Yeah, and it adjusted the list. It's like number 74 now. So next on our list in the top 100 as of today, number 97, Unreal Tournament 2004, originally released on the PC. So we will be booting up our PCs to play this game. I will give a little inkling to this game. It is not available on Steam and other outsources like that, so we're going to have to be creative to find a way to play this game, but we have figured out a way, and we'll talk about it when we record that episode.
Yeah, and we've already been kind of dabbling in it a little bit, so...
Yeah.
And then the next one after that, I think we should maybe mention
Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
It's a beast of a game, which is Divinity Original Sin 2. As of now, you could skip over it, right?
Yeah, it could potentially. So we had discussed this potentially, and we'll maybe reevaluate it. But because we're on 97 now, if for some reason a new game comes out and jumps that and pushes Original Sin
Divinity
to 97 or less, then we're not going to play it. We'll skip it. Now, deep down inside me, that's what I want. But I know for Bryant's sake, he would love to play this game. It's made by the people who created Baldur's Gate 3, which I think, Bryant, you said that's your favorite game of all time now.
It's got to be up there. It's definitely top 5. Yeah, and I'm okay with doing that if that happens, because that would make the list unique to us. Like, this top 100 list it would just be ours, because things are going to shift around, and it's just it would be boring to freeze the list and say we're going to do this frozen list, because games are always moving and things. So
yeah, I can tell you. I was just say what's coming out in the horizon. I know there's a new Dynasty Warriors game that's not going to push it off the list. There's the new Assassin's Creed comes out soon, I think. But I think we may be getting to this game before Assassin's Creed comes out, because it got pushed back on a few platforms. Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, so maybe Monster Hunter will make the list. I don't think there is a Monster Hunter game on this list, so this maybe could bump it. I think it comes out next week. So there's a chance of it getting bumped, but I don't think it is. I'm mentally preparing myself to play this game. For me, I love RPG and story games, don't get me wrong, but we're staring down the pipe at like a 50+ hour game with turn-based combat, which is not my favorite. So it's just going to take...
We can play multiplayer on it too, though.
Yeah, that is very helpful. So I will be taking advantage of the multiplayer element and playing some of the game with Bryant, probably inviting him into my world so I can get to the ending. But with that being said, because of that game being so long after the next podcast, if it does turn out to be the game we're going to be playing, we will be releasing mini-sodes every once in a while to kind of bridge that gap while we're playing that long game. So maybe talk about... I think we want to do a video where we talk about the games we're most excited for this year. Even do like a little reward show of the games we enjoyed the most last year. We'll do little minisodes like that. Expect 10 to 15 minute podcasts in between while we're playing these long games, because there's going to be other games just like Divinity Original Sin 2. That is a 50+ hour game. That's going to take us more than a month to complete.
It won't take me more than a month. Yeah, or we could do maybe some top 10 list episodes too, or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. We'll come up with something creative, but just stick around. We'll have stuff for you.
Perfect. Well, that's a wrap on Braid. Anything else you want to add, Bryant, before we shut it down?
I love you.
Love you too. All right, let's get gaming on Unreal Tournament. Let's get to gaming.